The following episode of the Maui Chamber of Commerce's Business Matters radio show was originally broadcast on July 13th, 2021.
Aloha and welcome to the Maui Chamber of Commerce Business Matters radio show, sponsored by Mokulele Airlines and Sherry Reeve Gallery and Gifts. I'm your host, Pamela Tumpop, president of the Maui Chamber of Commerce, and today we're going to talk to Senator Lynn Decoite and her new appointment to the Hawaii State Senate. We're going to speak to Jason Higa. He is the CEO of FCH Enterprises. We'll tell you more if you don't know what that means, but when you hear what it means, you're going to know the business in a very big way. And then we're going to meet a culinary artist who manufactures artisan gourmet life food products. So first, I'd like to welcome from the friendly Isle of Molokai, Senator Lynn Decoite. Lynn Pualani Decoite was appointed by Governor David Ige on June 17, 2021, just recently, to fill the Hawaii State Senate District 7 vacancy that was created when Senator Kalani English retired in April. She's previously served as a member of the Hawaii House of Representatives, as many of you know, representing District 13, and was serving her fourth term when appointed to the Senate seat. Lynn was born in Honolulu, but has lived on Molokai since she was 4 years old. She is a third-generation homestead farmer, where she and her three siblings were raised to work hard and live off the land. She is a devoted wife and proud mother of 3 children and 1 grandchildren. So Lynn and her husband own and operate L&R Farms Enterprises, LLC, so a businesswoman as well with the farm, where they raise their famous Molokai purple sweet potato. So as you can see by this bio, Lynn is a really busy woman. Good morning, Lynn.
Good morning, Pam, and thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being on the show, and congratulations on your appointment.
Thank you very much. It's been a whirlwind ride.
It has. I joked with Lynn earlier as we were just prepping to come on for the show. I said, you're probably my first guest who's bright and early, ready for the show. As many people always go, oh, it's morning and I haven't had my coffee. But as a farmer, Lynn's always up and ready.
Definitely.
So, Lynn, I wanted to start with talking a little bit about the legislative session because you were there as a House representative. So tell us a little bit about what you thought were some of the big wins and maybe some of the losses this year.
I think some of the big wins for us was really trying to just get through session, having to work without having people there face-to-face.
Yes.
Trying to deliver funds back to a district that is usually lack of resources and services was huge, and trying to work via technology.
Yeah.
That was a win in itself, because if not, we wouldn't be able to do business, as we would say.
Yeah.
So, I'd have to chalk that up as a win. I also have to chalk it up as having to be able to work with a great staff that I had. Issues for unemployment was really huge when a department was very much inundated with many, many claims, and just trying to go through the process of getting people to get unemployment. So, that was a huge win for us. Bringing in over $46 million with my former Senator Kalani English was huge. As you folks know, we are the only canoe district. And then, of course, having him depart due to his COVID long hauler was a huge blow, because I was then left to try and do both sides of the district and adhere to many questions with limited staff. So, those are some of our ups and downs going in there through legislative session and working the bills as best as we could with our colleagues.
Well, it was such a tough legislative session, and you're right. I love that you said that figuring out the technology was tough. It was hard, but also there was some wins. As you represent the canoe district, but those of us from the neighbor islands have always said, it's so hard for us to participate in the process. It costs us all more. It takes us more time, and we've always looked for technology to help shore this up. And so now, in the past, when everybody said just wasn't possible, we could never do a legislative session if we had all that much input from across the state, it showed that we can. And COVID was one amazing change. But as you point out, it was really tough for many of the departments, especially Department of Labor, who was using really antiquated equipment to process as many claims as they were flooded with.
So I think for like most of us, going forward as government leaders, as we saw the antiquated systems that we were dealing with, we need to really consider going forward. As many of these departments have asked to upgrade and digitize and meet the needs that we have challenges with, they need to be addressed sooner than later. Yeah. So that way we are prepared the next time going around. And I got to hand it to a lot of our partners that were out there. During COVID, we had a really, really hard time getting food. I mean, you talk about having to expedite and get food into rural areas. It was a challenge. People didn't have their unemployment. They weren't being compensated as fast as we would have wanted them to. Like everything, this was all brand new to all of us. Yeah. So all of us had to learn. We had to figure it out. Even to today, we are going through some struggles on trying to figure out our computerized systems. But I got to admit, at least allowing the neighbor islands to participate via Zoom, via Blue Jeans, and all the different technology, it really helped because, you should know for yourself, Pam, you got to be 10 places at one time for the Chamber of Commerce. So, you can jump from meeting to meeting within technology, and you got to appreciate it. You have to really, truly appreciate technology at that point.
Yeah, I really do. Although I will say, and, like any time we embrace new technology, there's so many great things. But I remember when the internet was first released and we first saw it here with the High Performance Computing Center and people showed it to me and I said, wow, that's really going to speed up our world. And it really did. In the old days, correspondence could take 5 days by the time somebody spent a day writing a letter and then mailed the letter and, you came back. And the same thing's kind of happening with Zoom or whatever platform people are using. I find I do more meetings a day, right? We're just moving from meeting to meeting to meeting. Because you can. That drive time went, woo, add in another meeting or two.
Well, and with that, we saw the downfall of schools.
Yes.
Internet service was not up to speed. Luckily, and I wish it was sooner than later, we will have a carrier that will be able to link us up with higher speed, but that's going to take a while. We're talking about 5 years just to get the areas of East Maui, those on Molokai and Lanai, just to have high-speed service. But it's a work in progress. In a time many years ago when we tried to do that, people had not liked the idea that we were going to have, maybe towers in those areas to have the internet service. But as you can see, something like COVID that had made many of our students stay home. We were fortunate enough to, put up hotspots in high-speed areas by asking some of those companies, just so that our kids could learn. And right. We know how important it is now, especially in a time if we have emergencies, tsunami warnings, earthquakes, that kind of technology is going to be needed for areas that will not be able to get the right information out as fast as possible.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, it's really important, as you point out, there's a lot of people who have not wanted the technology for, safety concerns or aesthetics or what have you. But it's time that we really have to start addressing and educating on that issue because 5G may be here, but if we're not deploying it yet because we still need to build out the system. So
and change is scary. Change is scary. Living on an island like Molokai, where we're so used to knowing everybody who lives here, you see the different facets of all our islands now. As many will say, wow, where are these people are coming from, right? Yeah. Just like now the influx of tourists. Wow, these people are coming here. It's government's kuleana to start educating and doing the best they can so that when people come to Hawaii, they know to be respectful. It's not as if I walk into your home and I disrespect your home and and vice versa. We ask the same, spread your aloha, share your aloha.
Yeah.
Not just talk about being aloha for everybody and not practicing what we preach.
Yeah, amen. That it was given to us as a gift, and it was meant to be shared with the world. So, I am a big believer of the aloha spirit, and it's a tough journey at times if you really read the spirit and the law and understand and there's much deeper meaning, I understand, even than what's included there. But just even within that, it's hard to always walk that walk, but it's an important journey for us because we can teach the world.
We definitely can, and I was lucky enough. I actually stopped on Maui last week to visit with the airports, and I just saw the frustration in everyone's face. And again, we have employees on the ground that are doing the best they can, but you have people that are frustrated. They just been on a 5-6 hour plane ride. At the same time, I remember just coming back from the mainland myself. There was no education process on the airlines. There was no PSAs running on the airlines. Welcoming people here back to Hawaii, or welcoming residents that have actually moved to the mainland coming home, to even give them a short little snippet on a PSA saying, welcome to Hawaii, hope you enjoy yourself. But again, please be respectful and mindful of where you go and what you do in Hawaii. I remember always seeing that, and we've had the conversation and the sit down with HTA, and as you see going forward, there are some of the PSAs starting to run. We have to make this a better place for everybody, at the same time making sure we're not inundated and depleting our resources that we so much look towards protecting, and not being disrespectful of those resources also.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I know there's great plans out there. It's time that we start, really implementing, managing tourism and getting us back to where, as you point out, where we feel more comfortable, where we can share that aloha spirit, because we bring down the frustration level, that people can see that things are getting done. They're being heard. And that's really important. So,
it's so crazy, right, Pap? We talk about tourism, and, tourism can be good, and yet it can be bad.
Yeah.
Many of the people don't realize, including many of my family members, when they come back and they're residents of a different state, we log them down on the government as tourists, right? So as you see these heavy numbers coming in, it's like, holy smokes, look at the count. But, those are our families that have moved in islands and areas where we don't have jobs. It's really affected our families that we so long to visit with our grandkids and our cousins. Those are the things we need to plan and look towards, as we would call it, right? After COVID, we're really doing a full reset of our economy, right?
Right.
And I think this is the ideal time that we should have already had the plan way back. What happens in case of a natural disaster? What happens in case of a disaster? Do we have plan A, plan B, plan C?
Right.
Those are the things that should have already been talked about. How do we integrate businesses back into the most worst economy we ever had under COVID?
Yeah.
Well, we start from resetting it to ground zero, and we start by looking at what is out there, what is base for us. Yeah. As I believe Governor had said this, we wanted to double food production. And I said, how do we double food production if the state never knew what the base production is? And, I find it very challenging for many of us as farmers, many of us who want to grow, many of us who just want to dabble in learning about gardening. We got to have the information readily available.
Right.
And we don't.
Yeah.
We don't.
That's a really good point. And, again, we saw with the farming community, of course, how dependent they were on the visitor industry for their sales. And, how things shifted when those sales were just not there as well, and them struggling to figure out, okay, well, when should we plant, right? We have to remember also that farming is a cycle, and people trying to, through COVID, just like many businesses were devastated in so many different ways, farmers were, when are we going to get back to more normalcy so we know how to get back to our planning schedule? And what new things should we do to better insulate our local communities? So farming is going to be a big thing. So in this plan, Lynn, how much of what we just talked about and the importance of getting that Plan A, that Plan B, that Plan C, that resiliency, that improvement in technology, how much do you see as that being a part of this coming legislative session in January?
Oh, it's going to be a huge part of legislative session coming up in January. One, you got to remember, right, here we have different companies that have moved in, companies that want to grow food, individuals that just want to grow food. We got to help them. At a time when University of Hawaii, I'll say UHCTAR, they have come out and done many different trials on different farms that farmers allow them to do. Where's the data?
Right.
I don't expect to teach you how to farm, and with all the different expertise we have out there, shouldn't there be a database easily accessible? Again, here we have technology.
Right.
I should be able to know in your area, upcountry, what is the pH of that soil, what can be grown during this time of year, what can't be grown during this time of year, and is there a market for it, or do I just consume it, and do I do the old style, like a lot of us here in Molokai, we love to barter and trade. Farmers farm, fishermen fish, hunters hunt, and individuals might do all of the above, but that's how we feed each other. We need that information readily available. I believe we should be able to put up a map in upcountry Maui and say, okay, let me put the cursor here, and that cursor, if you click on it, should be able to give you that information. That's the kind of technology we're going to need going forward, and to have that information readily available. I don't want to set you up for failure. I want to set you up where you can actually grow something in the area that you live. Even though I would love to grow strawberries and other stuff, and I know I can't do it in some of the areas that I actually already farm in. So
Right.
we should have that information available. We should be able to know if you have enough to market or what is the market demand. I think that we need to be supportive of others that are farming, not be so skeptical, but at least give them a chance. And if they screw it up, then you get rid of them. But, those are the things that need to be considered. We went through the process of rat lungworm, contamination, pesticides, where and at what point do we eliminate that, and where and at what point do we consider how far will agriculture go within the state of Hawaii, as well as, agriculture, what falls under there is also cattle.
Right.
Is growing beef. I mean, some people are vegetarians, some people are carnivores. I mean, we need to have options. If that's what you want to eat, so be it. But, we're going through a time where those of us that have cleaned our properties to ranch, those properties are being taken away.
Yeah.
I mean, is there compensation for those people that have cleaned their properties? While many of us as farmers and ranchers are conservationists and environmentalists of our own, I don't think it's right that you have the departments like DLNR swooping in and trying to take perfectly good land that is being ranched or farmed. We're going to grow trees up on the other areas and clean your own area, or grow it and then suffocate out the canopy under. But, these are some of the things that some of those ranchers are having to endure. It's very hard to farm and ranch in Hawaii, as most of you know.
Yeah.
Transfers of lands that can be farmed should be transferred back over to the Department of Agriculture, as well as those that could be ranched. But to hold that at bay does a disadvantage and disservice to the county of Maui as well as the state of Hawaii. And either we're going to get our act together in upcoming session, or we're going to be status quo. And this is where you have the community and constituents that need to be reaching out, and not just reaching out to your representatives or senators, but to everyone across the state, as well as making those phone calls and emails to the governor and our congressional leaders.
No, it's very true. And for folks I just want to remind everybody, first of all, for so long, right, we were just trying to be engaged in that statewide process. And of course, with the technology now and COVID, we had those opportunities this year. And it was really helpful, and we were better heard. But as Lynn points out, it's not, we have to remember that just like our county council represents us all, state legislators represent us all. So it's really important that we reach out more broadly, and technology and email allows us to do that. Phone calls, of course, and, actually great conversations are really important these days, because this is going to be, it's not easy to pivot. And we're looking at a huge pivot and reallocation of funds and doing things in different ways, but we all can see that it needs to be done. And this is, I agree with you, Lynn, this is the time to do it. You know what, Lynn, I am so sorry. We are already out of time, but we will have you on again. I know you're coming back and forth to Maui. So I just want to thank you so much for all you're doing. We really are excited to have you as our new senator and representing us as we move forward into this new arena, this legislative session. But thank you so much for all that you do.
No, thank you, Pam. Thank you for having me on your show. Be happy to come back. And, of course, I believe communication is key. I tell people to contact me. I do check my emails and my phone calls. If it takes me a few days to get back to you, we do check it. By all means, call us. I wanted to also share this with you. We are having a meeting virtual with the governor on Hana Highway and the traffic into Hana Highway on Thursday, July 15th from 4:30 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. I'll have HCA and the different departments that will be addressing that, along with someone from the mayor's office, or the mayor himself, and our council members in that district. So thank you very much, Pam. Be safe out there, and see you real soon.
Thanks, Lynn. You
Bye-bye.
too. Aloha. Have a great day.
Okay.
We're going to come back in just a moment after a word from our sponsor, Mokulele Airlines.
Mokulele Airlines operates the largest commuter airline hub in the country, right here in Kahului. Fly Mokulele from Kahului to Molokai, Lanai, Hana, Waimea, Kona, and now Hilo. Mokulele also operates the only flights between Kapalua and Honolulu. There is never a middle seat on Mokulele, and every seat has a window and aisle. Visit mokuleleairlines.com and take your next flight from the newly renovated Mokulele Terminal.
We're back. If you're just tuning in, this is the Maui Chamber of Commerce Business Matters radio show. And we talk about all things business here on this show, including updates and industry updates. And so this morning, we are very excited to welcome Jason Higa. Jason is the CEO of FCH Enterprises. If that makes you wonder, what does FCH Enterprises do? Because that's not the name we're most familiar with. How about Zippy's Restaurants, Napoleon's Bakery, Food Solutions International, A Catered Experience, and Kahala and Pearl City Sushi. That's what FCH Enterprises encompasses. We all know the famous Zippy's restaurant and love our Kahului Zippy's restaurant. Zippy's was founded by brothers Francis and Charlie Higa in 1966, and it celebrated their 50th anniversary in 2016. Prior to joining FCH Enterprises, Jason worked as a Honolulu attorney from 1990 to 1995, working in the areas of litigation and transactional law. In 1995, Jason returned to FCH Enterprises and worked in different positions within the family business before assuming the position of CEO and president in 2003. As a second-generation family business leader, Jason strives to preserve the core values of the company founders while continuing to evolve the company toward the future, which they have certainly done. Good morning, Jason, and aloha. Welcome to the show.
Morning, Pam, and thank you for having me on Business Matters.
Oh, we're so glad to have you. I've been spending a lot of time at Zippy's, and I always love learning about new things that you're doing. Recently, I was on a Zoom meeting, and they talked about comfort food and the Zippy's chili, and we could have brought that home, and I thought, oh, my God, how did I miss that opportunity during COVID? For all those nights I didn't have time to make dinner, I could have had Zippy's chili.
Thank you.
So, folks have really had to pivot during COVID-19, and I have really held Zippy's up as an amazing restaurant that has done it very well. I've always thought your layout for how you've created your booths was always very flexible and innovative, but the way you've taken that to a new notch with COVID-19 to protect your customers, I think is phenomenal. Can you tell us a little bit about that transition?
Sure, Pam, and thank you for your comments. Looking back, I think one of the things we decided early on is that we were going to need to make fast decisions. We weren't going to look for perfection in our decision making. So, there were many mistakes that we made along in the process, but for the most part, we tried our best to make the right decisions. And the major focus early on, we realized, was going to be on safety.
Right.
We knew that it was a concern for our staff, and we knew it was going to be a concern for our customers. So we did everything that we could to ensure that the experience in our sit-down, dine-in restaurant and in our takeout would be done in a way to emphasize, safety. So, first thing we did was make sure that we had enough reusable masks for each of our employees. Mm-hmm. So early on was able to find a manufacturer to produce, thousands of masks, which we ordered immediately. We worked with a plexiglass manufacturer here in Hawaii and committed to putting plexiglass in our offices and in all of our dine-in locations, and that commitment really allowed the vendor to move forward, order the product, and make sure to have that plexiglass put up in all restaurants as quickly as possible. Temperature kiosks, which are located in all of our locations today, we ordered very early on. Found a vendor on the mainland that could ship it to us as soon as possible. And I think, like many businesses, we scrambled to find sanitizer and make sure that was available. The dispensing, units for the sanitizer was also in high demand, and so we were able to find a sanitizer stand that would work with a jug of sanitizer, strictly mechanical, no frills. We didn't want anything that would break down, and so we went with that type of solution. But I would say the biggest focus for us was really the retraining of our staff. We spent a lot of time explaining the new procedures. We created an entirely new position called a sanitation specialist, and this person was primarily responsible for ensuring the safety of our customers and our staff, and a very important position in our procedures. And so those are some of the things that we had to adjust or did adjust as we adopted to the pandemic.
I appreciate you sharing honestly, because as you point out, I mean, these were unprecedented times, and we all did our best and worked to just do things as quickly as we can. So I appreciate too that you said, there were mistakes made as we all see in pivoting in the ways we needed to pivot. But clearly you folks have done it exceptionally well. I mean, I was marveling at the design of how even the plexiglass got attached, because you had recently in Kahului redone the booths. And I thought, well, how did they attach all that? They would have destroyed the new booths that they did. And the plexiglass company found a very creative way of making sure that they secured all that phenomenal plexiglass for protection while keeping the integrity of the booths.
Yeah, we were very happy with the results, and the vendor that came in did a great job of literally custom designing the plexiglass in light of our existing booth structure. And yes, we thought they did a great job at each of our locations.
And, you know, it shows. I mean, from every element, from being greeted outside and having your temperature taken to the way that you're walked into the restaurant these days. You know, you're greeted outside, you give your phone number. When it's your time, you're walked in, then you do the temperature check, and you can sanitize your hands before you go if you'd like, and how you're ushered down to the space that you're going to be in. I mean, you know, and then, of course, the phenomenal customer service that we're always used to is still there. And it's so great to go back to the restaurant and see all of our favorite staff and team members and servers. It's been a great joy to see what you've done there. I know, though, that with that, too, I understand also came some menu changes. You folks had to pivot a little bit on the menu, and things are being brought back or new things are being offered. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. We one of the things we did do that I think a number of our customers did notice is we reduced the number of menu items that we were serving, and this was very purposeful. We knew that we wanted to minimize the wait time for customers. We did not want customers waiting in line. We did not want customers waiting for their food to be prepared, and so we simplified the menu greatly. And you know, we did everything that we could with curbside pickup to mitigate the number of customers that would be in our takeout areas. We also encouraged phone orders and mobile ordering as a means to mitigate the line that would otherwise form, you know, in our location. So all of this was pandemic related or pandemic driven, if you will. And what we found, though, with the reduction in the menu, that we could become, you know, more efficient also. Uh-huh. And so moving forward, we are looking at continuing with, you know, that streamlined menu, if you will. Now, we did create some other menu options. We started to sell frozen products during the pandemic. We knew that many people were cooking at home, and having the ability to reheat chili or Portuguese bean soup or a variety of other products that we could provide was something that we knew would be of demand, and it certainly was. But we also sold everything from masks. We were selling toilet paper at one time.
Oh, wow.
Sanitizer and baking yeast, for example, was in high demand as everyone was baking at home. And, you know, so we had that product made available. We put together a new item called the Bambucha box, which was a box of different frozen items and other items that were of interest, and at a price point of about $100, but really a value of about $160. So that became very popular, you know, during the pandemic. So yeah, those were definitely changes that we made, and we believe that many of those changes worked very well.
You know, I didn't know about the Bambucha box, so that sounds really awesome to me. But I was laughing when I had heard, I could have had frozen chili, and I thought, wow, that would have been really great. We did the drive-through many times. I thought that was very well executed. Well, not drive-through. We drove and parked, and the team came out and provided us with our food, which was awesome. But are you still doing the Bambucha box, and what about the frozen chili and Portuguese bean soup? Are those available?
Yes, on occasion, you know, the demand has definitely slowed down, so we are going to bring it back during special promotions. But you know, something that was definitely popular at the peak of the pandemic.
Yeah, I think that is such an awesome thing to do. And everybody just absolutely loves your comfort food. So I know, because I've been there and I've seen announcements on the windows, you, like many, are also looking for employees. Tell us about how that's been going for you. And I've even seen some notifications about bonuses being offered.
Yes, thank you for asking, Pam. You know, like many hospitality companies, many restaurants. We too are, having challenges with staffing levels, and we certainly are looking for positions from counter people to cooks to hostesses, and both in full-time and part-time positions. So one of the things that we are providing are monetary incentives. So we're offering incentives up to $3,000 for managers and $500 for hourly positions, that are, entering into our company. And once hired, each of our current employees have the ability to earn $500 or $1,000 for referring, other employees to Zippy's. So, providing a lot of, incentives at this point. But what we're really hoping is, to provide long-term employment for those that are interested, in working for a local company. You do not need prior work experience. We pride ourselves on being a first employer. We do a lot of training and development along the way, and we offer many different positions. Our ideal person coming in will start at an entry-level position and work his or her way up into other positions of greater responsibility, greater pay. We offer free meals, 401k plan, and really a lot of flexibility on the schedule. So these are things that, we hope to maintain and encourage individuals to consider Zippy's as their employer of choice.
I think you've got such a wonderful program there, and it's always a friendly, and I look at the team working together. It seems like such an amazing place to work at, and I really hope for those who are listening, if you are looking for a job or know somebody who's looking for a job, refer them down to Zippy's. Explore the opportunities, because it's a great place to be. In my mind, I love going there. Everybody always seems very happy, and to hear all the things that they've put in place. And I think obviously the training is top notch. you can see it from how the business is run. So learn more about Zippy's. Jason, we have just a brief minute or so, but is there anything else that you'd like to share about Zippy's or things that we should know?
Pam, before, and then I just wanted to recognize you and the Maui Chamber. Like many organizations, I know how much you had to pivot yourself, with limited resources during a very stressful time. I really felt that the Maui Chamber stepped up to represent, businesses during a time where, representation of businesses was so important. And so I just wanted to personally thank you for all your efforts during the pandemic also, and recognize the great work that you and your staff did, over the past year. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. That means the world to us. For those who don't know, we have a small staff. We normally 3. We're down 33% of our capacity too right now. But I have to also give credit to Amber Koutsos, who's our office manager and legislative liaison. We always joke that we're like Charlie's Angels. Normally, kind of like radio. I'm usually the voice that people hear, but they don't usually see me. That changed with Zoom. But Amber is boots on the grounds, making things happen, and doing an awesome job. But thank you so much, Jason, for recognizing that. We really appreciate you, and we appreciate our partnership with Zippy's, and you and I have had a chance to work on issues over the years. And it's really an important time to get involved. And I do want to say, earlier we've had Representative Lynn Decoite on. This is a time when we can unite and really strengthen the voice of businesses by getting together and getting involved, because it's a time of great pivot. And so we all are trying to do our part. We're all super busy, but together we can be stronger and make a measurable difference to see Maui grow in the way we'd like it to grow. So we thank you, Jason, for the comment and for sharing that, and for our partnership. We value you as a member, but also as a resource who's been available to us as we wanted to talk through different issues.
Thank you, Pam. Thank you, Amber, and aloha.
Have a wonderful day. Thank you, Jason. Aloha.
Bye-bye.
All right, I would like to just share a little bit more about our other sponsor, which is Sherry Reeve Gallery and Gifts. Sherry Reeve is a renowned watercolorist who offers an array of bright and beautiful art and gifts for every occasion. If you haven't been to her gallery in historic Makawao town, you definitely should go. It's actually how I first met her, was shopping for something special for someone I deeply cared for. And also she's doing amazing new art classes. Everybody's been pivoting with the pandemic, but she has a fun and creative way to take people who are first-time artists and create works of art that you'll be proud of. So check in with Sherry Reeve at Sherry Reeve Gallery and Gifts in Makawao. Now I get the pleasure of welcoming one of our Made in Maui County Festival participants. I'm pleased to welcome Dennis of Aloha Ra Llc. Aloha Ra was created on Maui Island by an artisan family. Culinary artist Den Koro and Tia Master Aloha Lani, their mission is to help you awaken your higher consciousness through your dietary choices. So, aloha, Dennis. I'm thrilled to have you on the show this morning.
Hi, good morning, Pamela. Yes, I'm thrilled to be on the show with you, and thanks so much for inviting me. We're very pleased to be kind of heard by the local people at this morning.
Yeah, well, I know it's a little early, but we have a great listening audience who loves learning more about what's happening in Maui and especially what's happening with local businesses. So you have a really interesting company. Tell us about what inspired your company.
The inspiration comes from the understanding that people need to have the healthy food choices. And me and my wife have been in the food industry for over 30 years, and we've been serving the worldwide, healthy foods. We worked in Russia. Actually, we had the first health food restaurant in Moscow, Russia, and then we had a few health food projects and did some restaurants in the spa resorts in Thailand. And then we came to Maui to share also with people of Maui our knowledge and also our ability to make the healthy food very delicious, because we do like high gourmet kind of level of food, so everybody who not even into the health food, they can enjoy health food and find the familiar choices, and then find familiar flavors even with our selection. But at the same time, it's completely different quality of the food, and we provide a lot of fermented foods also here during the pandemic. I think that was very important that we coming from Russian background and we've been fermenting sauerkraut and various foods from our childhood. And so my wife, when we came here, she saw the big need for the kind of culture of fermented foods, which we believe that the culture should come from the inside of people. So if you have the friendly, right bacteria, right culture, that's why it's called culture. You have the culture inside of you, then you can really manifest the culture outside of you, and then all people can live, kind of in culture. And we all know, being on Maui, that the culture is kind of it's a strong part here, but that a lot of people are involved into businesses and just making their living, which is not always easy, and they kind of forget about culture. So we are here to help people remember, about the culture, and then also promote and kind of make culture available in the form of the food. And so my wife, when she came here, she got inspired to make very colorful, very beautiful, like a sauerkraut, like an art project sauerkraut. And then when I saw the demand on the market and then people loving it, so then I also joined her on this project, and that's how Aloha Ra started here on Maui about 7 years ago, actually. And then since then, it was very amazing, very beautiful journey. Of course, the pandemic made the challenges for us as a business, but as a creative people, as a kind of entrepreneurs, and also as a promoters of the healthy lifestyle, it gave us also the big opportunity to help people understand and see how much of their food choice is actually not just in our mission is for enlightening the beings, but also just keeping ourselves healthy, our communities healthy, and also being able to utilize the local resources, help local farmers, use as much local gifts that we have here as possible to create something beautiful and sustainable for us to kind of strive through the hard times, but also to kind of be happy and healthy in the good times that are, I hope, coming soon.
That is awesome. I love that you're doing that, and of course, love that you're working with local farmers, and your products are absolutely beautiful, colorful, and healthy. Tell us a little bit about the process and the preparation and why fermentation is so important for our inner culture so that we can better express our outer culture.
So how we understand how we brought to the world is that making a lot of sauerkraut as a healthy food for our families. And so when we look into deeper, actually the cabbage is only one vegetable out of the whole vegetable kingdom that provide the natural probiotics on the surface naturally. And so when we ferment it in a certain way, following certain rules, and we do traditional fermentation the same way like our grandparents taught us. No vinegar, no water, no sugar. We just use some salt from the Molokai Island, the sun-dried sea salt, which has lots of trace minerals. It has about 92 trace minerals and then lowest on sodium chloride. So when we ferment this salt also with our kraut, all those trace minerals, they become bioavailable because the salt wasn't pasteurized. It was just a sun-dried. And so basically our sauerkraut become a superfood and also the full of friendly bacteria, which, as I said, become on the surface of the cabbage. And when we ferment it, they kind of like populating more and more. And process is kind of complicated because also it was one of the challenges in tropical climate. It's not easy to make the perfect sauerkraut, but because we have to do it in commercial kitchen, it made it easier because we only do it in a cold kitchen, which takes longer. But in the end, we got perfect sauerkraut, like almost the same way as we used to have kind of in a childhood. And thanks God, the farmers in Maui, they can grow cabbage all year round. So that was another kind of like a blessing for us to be here and able to have those fresh cabbage when we need it. And then it takes us about 1 month to get from the cabbage into our fermented product. So it takes a while, but we supervise it, we look properly, we follow all the guidance of the health department that also updating, the rules. But so altogether it was a very amazing journey. And then at the end we gave people the very tasty and beautiful sauerkraut that actually lots of our clients just are happy to have. And also our kind of skills made possible for us to introduce sauerkraut in different forms. At the moment we have sauerkraut in form of the mustard. My wife made the Sauerkraut Bread, which becomes so popular on the market, and you can find it in Down-to-Earth, on the Kula Market with us, or in the PD Farmers Market on Wednesday. So it's amazing bread that still contains probiotics. I believe it's only one bread on the planet. And then following her, I made the cookies now, even sweeter cookies, sweetened only with apricots and dates, but also based on sauerkraut and local macadamia nuts. So all those gifts now, even kids can kind of enjoy the cookies, but still have the probiotics from sauerkraut. And as we look into modern research, especially kind of following this pandemic and those things, and we see that even doctors now all over the world, they recommending sauerkrauts. In the countries where the fermented foods are popular, we see that they really overcoming the problems are much easier, the health problems. And so actually the probiotics, they are like main thing for our immune system. So when we have proper culture, proper flora inside of us, so they creating special environment and supporting our immune system and overall health. And immune system, as we know now, it's very important to have the healthy and strong immune system. So yes. I think the sauerkrauts are just the main food, actually should be main food for all of us.
So tell us about the different varieties of sauerkraut that you have, and then I want to get back to these cookies because I can't even imagine I could get sauerkraut in bread, but sauerkraut in cookies I want to learn more about too.
Yes, so the different types of sauerkraut that we have traditional style, like a chunky sauerkraut, like people used to eat. We have the plain, and then we have one with the beets, which also we ferment the traditional way, and the beets are just perfectly fermented. They're crispy, and the kraut is little crispy. Then we have a line of pureed sauerkrauts. They're especially made for people who have normally the hard time digesting chunky sauerkraut. They have bloating, gas, some other issues. So our pureed sauerkrauts and colorful. They made with turmeric or sometimes with spirulina, so they do not create any gas in the body. They really like a baby food sauerkraut and can be introduced at any stage for people who had like disease, took the antibiotics, took some kind of medication. They're really great for the restoration, and also they can be used as a condiments. Then we have amazing mustards, like super quality, strong, like spicy mustard that actually local people love to eat with the fish, chicken, with any kind of meat. So they really amazing, have the all enzymes and probiotics just to help you digest any food. And not mention that can be also used nicely with the vegetables. because we provide our products are all vegetarian and vegan, but they doesn't meant to eat only by vegetarians or vegans. They are, health, give the health to anybody who's going to try them. And then we make also now probiotic drinks. Also, they include sauerkraut, which was another nice product to have on a pandemic. Mm-hmm. And then the cookies that we made, they just have only 4 ingredients: the sauerkraut, macadamia nuts, and apricots and dates. So they're very amazingly dried at low temperature. Because when we have probiotics, if we would bake those cookies or breads, then the probiotics will disappear, and then it would not make sense to use this kind of product as a kind of probiotic product. But what we do, we just slowly dry those cookies or breads at the low temperature, about 118 Fahrenheit, for about 24 to 38 hours. So it makes amazing chewy and then a crunchy cookies or breads with an amazing also flavor, not overly sweet, but just little sweet for the cookies. And they chew and they're nice, and people just love them. They kind of addictive because, we need so much sauerkraut, so much culture, and eating in this form helps people a lot, I believe. So it's our pleasure to introduce our cultural product, in this way on Hawaii, and have people loving it. And we see now the more people and more getting into the sauerkraut and healthy food. So actually our product's been very appreciated by the people, which is helping us a lot to go through those hard times and, have the inspiration to go, and create new things.
We do have a community that really is into healthy living, and so I'm so glad to hear that there's such great acceptance for your product, and I know that we've enjoyed them in our household. I grew up years ago back on the mainland when I was little. I worked in a Hungarian deli, and we ate a lot of sauerkraut and put it on a lot of things. So I have a deep appreciation for it myself. We have about a minute, Dennis. Can you tell us real quick where people can find your products?
The people can find our products in farmers markets. That's the best, where they can meet also us and talk to us and see our knowledge and learn from us. So this is Wednesday in the Pili Market, and of course Kula Malo Market on Saturdays, which was both markets were the blessing for us. We really appreciate the people who created those markets, the Neil, Steve Phillips, Neil Koshover at the Kula, that they were able to all pandemic to have those markets running and making people sell their products and also make healthy foods available for people.
Awesome. I'm going to have to stop you there. I'm so sorry, Dennis, but we are really out of time. So
wonderful.
Thank you for joining us, and thanks to all who are listening today on the Maui Chamber of Commerce Business Matters radio program, sponsored by Mokulele Airlines and Sherry Reeve Gallery and Gifts. I'm Pamela Tumpa, president of the Maui Chamber of Commerce, wishing you blessings and best wishes for a beautiful Maui day.